Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the marketplace. Coming up, farmers continue to count their losses as a drought leaves their farms vulnerable. We have a report from the Bono East region.
The more I talk about it, the more sad I become. On the 26th of last month, I came and saw this, my farm. Please, I nearly fainted.
Also coming up, Ghana Revenue Authority says it is no longer using Rambo-style approach to collect taxes.
It is not only with you that we are going to do this. We have done with other stakeholders. And we believe that is the way to go, and not using the Rambo style as you guys put it. It is now a bit of what? Collaboration and education.
Plus, Development Bank Ghana reveals plans to use long-term funds from partners to significantly reduce interest rates in Ghana by as much as 8%.
We work together with our PFIs, partner financial institutions. We are bringing down the component of the interest rates that is due to the risk premium.
My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for being with us. Details coming up. And we begin from the Bono East region, where farmers continue to count their losses after the recent dry spell left their farms vulnerable and their crops dried out due to the absence of adequate water supply. Regional correspondent Anas Abid visited a 100-acre maize farm in the Kintampo South district, where some farmers say they're struggling to salvage their dwindling crops and are calling on government for support. Here's more in this report.
Known by many as the food basket of the nation, the Bono East region produces quite a significant percentage of the food that is being consumed here in the country, with the Techiman Central Market being the major food crop market in the country. The recent drought or dry spell has caused havoc to many farmlands in this part of the country. Maize farmers, cassava farmers, beans farmers, yam farmers, and what have you, all lamenting the difficulties they've been through due to the absence of adequate rains in recent times to ensure that their farm produce, grow well. Today, we are here in this part of the country, precisely in the Kintampo South district of the Bono East region, where we are engaging some farmers to ascertain the level of destruction the current dry spell has had on their farmlands. What has gone into this investment, as far as I know, is very huge. Very, very huge.
Prince John, a poor teacher at the Techiman Senior High School, tells me that he has lost not less than 200,000 Ghana cedis in ensuring that the land is prepared for the investment.
It wouldn't be less than, 200,000. 200, that is about 2 billion. Yeah, more than that. But the rough estimate would be about 2 billion.
Prince, who was inspired by a statement by the president of the land, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, during a meeting with some teacher unions some few years back, says the outcome of his farm saddens his heart.
Some 2 years ago,
the teacher unions, our leaders went to the president to negotiate, to talk to him on our conditions of service. The president, upon his admission that teachers are not better remunerated, says that nobody can be a teacher and be rich unless we do something, you know. So I said, wow, once the head of state has said this, let me do something. So I was fired up. And that has gotten me this far. So, bro, the more I talk about it, the more sad I become.
After months of hard work, Prince visited his farmland on July 26, and the situation left him in a state of shock.
On the 26th of last month, I came and saw this, my farm. Please, I nearly fainted. I nearly fainted. So, since then, I've been sick. Even I traveled to Accra that day. When I went to Accra, the next day, I was sent to hospital.
The level of distraction here is bizarre, with farmers here unable to, identify how they could salvage at least even an acre of the investments they made into this particular farmland.
Now, I have a very big stress because I don't know how I am going to recoup that 200,000 or 200,000 plus, and how to reinvest. Because if I'm unable to clear this and then save the land, suppress the weeds, it means that this weeds will become something that we cannot control, the fire from entering. So I will lose everything.
The current situation, if not checked, could lead to food insecurities, and the losses means there will be little food at the various food markets in the area.
The least we talk about it, the better for us. Now, anybody who sees this farm, this vast land, over 100, acres. So definitely the maize that would have gone to Techiman market is not going. I'm not going to send mine because I don't have. It is so with many other farmers who do not also have. So we are going to have some sort of problem.
We've also been speaking with some other farmers, most of whom are employees of Prince John, and they share their plight with Joy News.
Ada say yen san ye be san yes sir en yes sir yen
ifento ka ye wa ha ne nyina bibia ye wa ne nyina ye ka e bia say ye benye bibia kakra ye mana Ghana fo ne nyina di ne nyina ko kam wo ba bi ntimi hu say abepio mpio.
He, in his submission earlier, indicated that he was motivated by the president to get into this venture. He's appealing through the president and the Agric Ministry to come to his aid to enable him recoup something and then get back into this farming business.
Now I'm on my knees to all of them, the head of state and the ministers. So if they are considering anybody, they should think of Prince Jan. They should think of Prince Jan so that I can also bounce back.
In the Kintampo South district of the Bono East region, my name is Anas Sabit, reporting for Joy News.
And that's a bit there reporting on the drought situation in the Bono East region. We'll still stick with the farms because they may be tiny, but they go into a mighty army of pests. Fall armyworms continue to be a bane to corn farming and its production in Ghana after invading the country's farms 8 years ago. Now, originally native to the Americas, the invasive pests are reported to have contributed to over 80% of maize losses, resulting in economic damages in recent years. Fortunately, the Crops Research Institute of the Council for Science and Industrial Research has commenced an exploration and introduction of biological control mechanisms against the invasive pests in the Ashanti region. Emmanuel Bright Kweku has more in today's episode of Food Chain.
For years, maize farmers across Ghana and by extension the African continent have had to battle a common enemy on their farms, the fall armyworms. Striped grayish-green caterpillars with dark brown to black heads, the invasive pest has a strong preference for feeding on grasses, especially of maize, rice, sorghum and other crops. Kwame Kobi and his wife, Efia, are farmers in the Abrankese community in the Bosomche district of the Ashanti region.
Poison no cry to bo have a bomb prinum prensa. And sana bia to me kumo kakra and crane communina.
Just a old time bronu we are. Will a woman so much more. And to what time we are now, we are now, where we are in. If you are quite a bano sem, nobody be a guinche. No, I catch yourself, brother, more woman to 20 so.
The insect lays its eggs on the plant leaf, which grows into a larvae to feed on the well of the host plants. The migration of the pest, originally native to the tropical and subtropical regions of the Americas, remains elusive to scientists. It has rapidly invaded 47 African countries and 18 Asian countries since the first detection of invasion into Nigeria and Ghana in 2016. Dr. Kofi Frimpong Enin is an entomologist at the Crops Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research.
We're still not being able to identify the exact way they entered. Many have argued it is not possible for it to have crossed the Atlantic from the Americas to Africa. So the speculation is that it might have come through trade.
A 2017 research study estimated that maize yield losses in Africa due to fall armyworm would range between 8.3 to 20.6 million tons per year if management measures were not put in place. In Ghana alone, the value of the 2018 annual maize crop loss to fall armyworm was estimated at $177 million. Ridding of the insect has become a struggle for both scientists and farmers, with synthetic insecticides being the main treatment management since their detection. But this has been identified to have deleterious effects on the environment and humans, as well as the pest resisting the potency of the chemicals. The Crops Research Institute of the CSIR, with funding support from the Korea Africa Food and Agriculture Cooperation Initiative, is exploring the use of biological agents to fight the fall armyworms. 3 biological agents, including insects, fungi, and nematodes, otherwise known as soil worms, were adopted. Here are lead researchers for the various applications.
In fact, we have other predators which capture the larvae or the caterpillar and feed on them. Some on the maize, some even on the soil. But these parasitoids are more efficient in a sense that they are able to destroy a lot of the fall armyworm eggs.
All right, so you can catch the full episode of Food Chain on Saturday at 6 p.m. on the Joy News channel. It will also be repeated on Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. Get to find out how agri stakeholders are trying to control the fall armyworm invasion. Now, turning to some other top stories we are following for you. The Ghana Revenue Authority says it is no longer using the Rambo-style approach to tax collection. The authority has been accused by some businesses of harassment, but addressing journalists at a workshop for members of the Parliamentary Press Corps, Deputy Commissioner in charge of operations, Daniel Edisi, assured all taxpayers, in particular businesses, that that approach is over.
I believe you are aware last half of the year, let me put it that way, we made a target, which is about the best for the past 6 years. It has not been easy in an election year to be able to meet that target. And it's all because of some of these collaborations. It is not only with you that we are going to do this. We have done with other stakeholders. And we believe that is the way to go, and not using the Rambo style as you guys put it. And it's now a bit of what? Collaboration and education. Going forward, that's the strategy that we are using, and it is gaining already some advantages for us. We are sure we'll be able to meet the target come the end of the year. Now, everybody or the business community is ready to engage us. And I believe that, like I did say, taxation is a bit technical. So you need to explain and explain and explain. And that is what we are trying to do. Now, GRA is customer-centric. Customer-centric. And please, carry this message across and then let's together. Because without taxes, we can't grow our nation. We can't do anything. We go out there to collect loans and other things. It is somebody's citizen that have paid the taxes. We also must be endeavored to pay. GRA is ready to educate, to use media, channels like this to be able to reach out there for us to the importance of what? The taxation that we need to pay.
Now, Development Bank Ghana has revealed that it is working to use long-term funds from its partners to significantly reduce interest rates. The bank is looking at dropping rates by as much as 8% over the next 5 years. Chief Executive Kwamna Duka has been speaking on PM Express Business Edition.
Our financing is dollar denominated or euro. We have EIB loans through the government. So they are in hard currency in that respect. And we have to, working together with the Ministry of Finance, we have to pay those loans back, albeit concessionary loans, right? So that is a factor. Let's not move away from that. But it's not going to stop us. And the reason it's not going to stop us is that even though foreign exchange plays a huge part of this, the other part of it is the risk premium that is applied to our local businesses, which can be something like 700 or 800 basis points. And for some of the SNLs, it can be much larger. And so those need to come down. And so as we work together with our PFIs, partner financial institutions, we are bringing down the component of the interest rates that is due to the risk premium. And we're doing that by de-risking. We have set up a subsidiary called Development Bank Guarantee, which works very similar to Gersel. And that basically provides credit guarantees to the banks to allow them to be able to invest more safely at the beginning, whilst they take the first risk. So we're trying to de-risk the different sectors we work in. And if we can do that successfully, we can bring interest rates down, but maybe 500, 700, 800 basis points. But when you do that, it has a knock-on effect, because a thriving economy does what? It very simply reduces the need for foreign exchange. What we do in agriculture today, I can go through some of the numbers and tell you what that's doing in terms of FX, providing alternative sources that we don't need to use FX for, etc. Bringing in valuable foreign exchange also in that respect. So as you get, it all starts with profitability, which the euphemism is sustainable.
Now, Accra will become the 15th biggest city in Africa by 2035. That's according to the Economist Intelligence Unit. However, this will be a decline from the 13th position occupied in 2023. Here's more in this report.
According to a compound annual growth rate, Accra's economy will expand by an average of 6.7% between now and 2035. The report mentioned that Africa has and will continue to have the fastest rate of urbanization of the world's major regions through to 2035. It added that Africa's urban population will rise from about 650 million in 2023 to almost 1 billion in 2035. This represents a compound annual growth rate of 3.5% and will take the proportion of Africans living in towns and cities to over 50% in 2035. In Africa, Central and West African sub-regions will record the fastest rate of urban population growth in 2023 to 2035. Its continued VAT, the emergence of new urban heavyweights and mega cities, the rapid expansion of city clusters, and the rising importance of megapolises will be a major feature of Africa's demographic and economic future. Meanwhile, Greater Accra will remain the #1 largest economy in Africa. It will be followed by Greater Johannesburg and Lagos.
All right, welcome to Show Business. It's a Friday. A lot has been happening in the area of political campaigning this week, and the creative industry has not been left out. The NPP's 2024 manifesto last weekend included several promises aimed at bolstering Ghana's creative industry, such as tax incentives to attract the private sector, investment from the private sector, visa policies to ease international access, and the development of a streaming platform for local content. How about that? Well, Kenneth Aotuda, co-culture journalist, joins me to discuss the dynamics and the impact on the economy, including the ongoing Chalote Street Art Festival. Can't believe it's open. It's been a year already.
Yeah.
Good afternoon to you. So let's begin with the NPP manifesto and highlights as concerns the creative arts industry. How can the proposed tax incentives stimulate growth in the creative arts sector?
So in the space, basically, one of the things, and it's not even just the creative space, one of the things that's basically affecting a lot of areas in the country in terms of business has to do with taxes. There have been numerous complaints about how skyrocketing these levies are going and how it's affecting day-to-day activities. And that is how the creative industry is also coming in. This has been one of the issues because for an industry such as this, usually they require a lot of logistics, they require a lot of other services to be able to come together and make these creative words, creative activities come to life. And if taxes on these activities are going high day in, day out, you can only imagine the effect that it has on these businesses. And so that is why when the Vice President and the NPP flag bearer made this comment during that manifesto launch, basically made some sort of impact in the creative space, and is one thing that creatives would be excited about if actually implemented.
So there was also talk about the e-visa and visa-free policies. Talk to us about that.
So collaboration in this creative space is very important, like we talked about some weeks back. I mean, to be able to collaborate with international bodies, for instance, you would need to do some of these international trips. You need to perform on different stages. If you are an arts, a painter, for instance, you want to exhibit your work outside, you need some of these permissions or permits to be able to fly out. And that is one thing that has been an issue, because acquiring the visa to go out there, usually, even though you have the capacity in terms of finance to be able to make the trip, usually the impediment when it comes to visa travels becomes a very big issue. And so that is also another reason why when the Vice President made that particular statement, it brought a lot of attention in that particular area. And so creatives are hoping that some of these issues are looked at as long as the progress of the industry is concerned. And you can even look at some of
there you have it.
Yeah.
Tourism in Ghana, the annual international arrivals. Talk us through.
So this is the annual international travels, and you can see 2019 we saw some 1.13 million dollars being made in that particular area. So you realize that it went down in 2020. You saw 355,000 people.
That was drastic.
Yes, that was a drop, and we all understand what caused that, because there was COVID, there were travel restrictions amongst others. And so that is one other thing. And so in 2021, we saw a rise in, international arrivals at the Kotoka International Airport. It went up in 2022. We saw 914,000.
And in 2023, 1.14 million.
Exactly.
That's like a recovery.
Exactly. So we understand that there is some progress being made, and the government has said that it has put in place some measures to ensure that this kind of figures sees an increase this specific year. So we are hoping that some of these issues are not left just on the drawing board as we are talking about, but actually implemented if these parties are giving the nod.
Interesting stuff there. Let's talk about local streaming, because it's something that the Vice President, NPP flag bearer, also mentioned. What do you have to say about that?
So it has become a big issue now in the creative space because once your wear is not, or your product is not online as a creative, you are losing out big time. And a lot of creatives are trying to take advantage of that field, but unfortunately, some of these streaming platforms, when it comes to film or music, have very international, standards that are usually very difficult to meet in terms of the local logistics. And this comes down to funding of the creatives themselves. And so the fact that the party is proposing that when it gets given the nod, it's going to create some of these frameworks to be able to ensure that creatives locally have their products online as well. It's something that is also being lauded by the space itself. And so you realize that all of these things have a certain contribution to the creative economy and to tourism as a whole. That is why it's important that we talk about the revenue that has been generated, over the past few years. Let's start from 2019. This talks about the fact that some $3.31 billion was raised in terms of revenue as of 2019. 2020, of course, COVID, so we understand what the trends are. It went down a bit, and it kept going up from there. Last year, 2023, we made, or the country made, $3.81 billion in, tourism alone in terms of revenue as far as the creative industry is concerned. And it's also projected that $3.8 billion will be made at the end of this year as well. So these are all figures that, make you understand that it is very important for government to pay attention to the creative industry as well. And we are hoping that some of these things will, be followed through if, they are given the nod. We've also seen the former president, John Dramani Mahama, also make certain pronouncements, even though they are launching a manifesto
this weekend. Interesting to hear what he has to say.
Yes, because he's also talked about the fact that he's also looking forward to putting out some pronouncements in terms of building studios, recording studios, and film studios for creators as well, which has been also mentioned in the previous manifesto, the 2020 manifesto. The MPP also mentioned that the building of studios and also theaters. But the fact that we haven't seen much in terms of the materialization of those promises is another issue.
And 3.8 billion, I mean, that's some money. We could increase it as well. I'm just being told that one minute. I just want to talk about Chaluote, because it's open in Accra, right? Yes. And I was saying, I can't believe it's been a year, but what are the highlights of this year's event?
So this year, we have seen a lot of activity from Monday. And Joy Prime has covered that extensively. We've seen a lot of processions. We've seen some activities at the Osu Castle as well. Now, this weekend going into Saturday and Sunday, even tonight, there's a lot of activities going on. But Saturday and Sunday are the big days. If you've been to Chaluote over the past few years, you would understand that there's a lot of culture, rich culture on display during the Street Art Festival, among others. And so that is something also to look forward to. If you don't have anything doing this weekend, maybe you have to be there. And also, there's also going to be on September 14, there's also going to be the Showbiz Roundtable organized by
I've seen the promo already.
Exactly.
Interesting conversation about our creative arts industry.
Exactly. So they're going to be putting the experts together, political heads.
Culture journalist Kenneth Aochidako, as always, a pleasure to talk to you. That's The Marketplace. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. We'll see you same time next week. Goodbye.